Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me, as always, it is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I had a great weekend. How about you, Bill?
I certainly did, yeah. Chilled out Saturday, did very little. Sunday, went down to Sea Isle, little day trip, had a nice time. Had myself a 302 that I've been craving for the first time of the year. Really, strawberry banana 302, nothing like it. So it was a good time. But we are back. We are here for our, daily contractual obligation. They hate when I say that. No, listen. There's actually a lot to do. I was like last night, okay, what the hell's this show going to be about? And then I started putting together the outline, and we have a lot. So let's jump right in, Charlie. First, congratulations to the London Knights and Flyers prospects, Denver Barkey and Oliver Bonk. They have won the Memorial Cup. They finished their story a year after losing in the Memorial Cup final. They come away with it this year. And Charlie, Denver Barkey is like really, really good. What if he's just awesome? Like I just keep seeing... Like, and I even do it. You know, we talked about it last week, like in trade ideas. You know, like if he was 6 foot tall, we'd be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. But simply because of size, I feel like, oh yeah, like I'm looking forward to seeing Denver Barkey. But I don't know if people are like as legitimately excited as they should be for a dude who just put up, 2 points a game in the OHL playoffs. Had 129 points in 82 games last year, regular and postseason. This year, 102 points in 60 games, regular and post. 7 points in 5 Memorial Cup games, same as Easton Cowan. They had the same stat line. Like, should we be like more, oh my God, Denver Barkey's coming, or reserve, yeah, he'll probably be something, but we don't really know what. Like, it just seems like he's had success every step of the way.
Yeah. I tweeted this out last night about Denver Barkey. Obviously, he had the big game in the Memorial Cup final, scores 2 goals, and just reminded everyone that they should be excited about Denver Barkey. But I've said this on the show. I'll say it again. I tweeted it last night. I don't know what Denver Barkey is going to be at the NHL level. I don't know if he's going to be a second liner, a guy who you could trust to score, a guy who's going to be a third liner where he's more of a depth guy, like a Scott Lawton type, or if he's going to be an energy fourth liner, which would seem like, a 5'9" guy probably shouldn't be that, but I think he can be. My view, though, with Denver Barkey is that regardless of what role he's in, whether it's, top half of the lineup guy or fourth liner who gets 10, 11, 12 minutes a night, I think he is going to be a guy who makes an impact on a nightly basis. And I think he's going to be a guy who, when he's out of the lineup, whether for injury or scratch or whatever, you miss it. And I don't think that's necessarily the case for every fourth liner. You could have a fourth liner, and I swear I'm not saying his name just to crap on him, even though I crapped on him for years. Like if Chris Vandevelde didn't play, it was like whatever. He's a body. He's a fourth liner. He's a body who skates for 80 to 81 games a year and just does a couple things. Whereas Denver Barkey, if he ends up being a fourth liner, he's going to be a fourth liner you miss, and totally different type of player. Obviously, one guy's big and one guy's not, but like you miss Garnet Hathaway when he's not in the lineup. Now, is he anything more than a good fourth liner? No, he's just a good fourth liner. But when he's not in the lineup, you notice he's not in the lineup. When they were going through that rough stretch in March, I had multiple conversations on this show and with people in the organization. Like, man, you guys really miss Garnet Hathaway right now because he can change a game with one play, with one scrum, just changes the way a game feels. And I feel like Barkey, regardless of where he ends up, number one, I think he's going to be an NHL player. I believe in him as an NHL player, but I also believe that he is going to be a noticeable NHL player. He's going to make an impact in the minutes that he gets. For me, it just kind of more comes down to what is he going to be at the NHL level? What is going to be his role? But whatever role he ends up having, I think he's going to be noticeable and impactful in that role.
Now, listen, OHL, CHL, major junior success is not, 1 for 1. Well, he's going to be a great NHL player. Just a couple of things here, though, from Alex Appleyard. He tweeted the other day. He says, fun one for Flyers fans. CHL hockey players this season with over 4 points per 60 at 5-on-5 and over 65% expected goals for at 5-on-5. It's a one-man list. Denver Barkey. That's it. Denver Barkey is the only dude. Now, listen, it's a couple of stats. I'm sure there's lists of stats that he's not on or whatever, but like to be the one of one on a list, like, he's out there with two other forwards and those guys are on that list. Like, he's on an excellent team, but none of his teammates are on those lists. And you see the also guys who outscored him at 5-on-5 points per 60 this season. It's a whole bunch of highly thought of prospects.
Yes.
Like in this other tweet of Alex Appleyard's, only 7 players across all the CHL who have scored more 5-on-5 points per 60 this season. And it's, a bunch of really big prospects. McKenna's in there. Misa's in there. Desnoyers is in there. Catton, Renkoff. It really feels like he's going to be something, Charlie. Now, like you said, it might be further down in the lineup. It might not be a player like, we're cup bound now because we have Denver Barkey. But this dude, he's the captain of the Memorial Cup winner. Yes, the London Knights, they are kind of one of those teams. Like, yeah, they should, they should be in the OHL final every year. They're kind of just run that way. But he's one of the guys that makes them go over the last couple of years. The scoring numbers are incredible. The thing is, he's listed at 5'10", 171 on London's website. Elite Prospects has him at 5'9", 154. I don't know how often Elite Prospects updates a player's measurables, like post-draft, pre-graduation. Like, all right, this is what we had him going into his draft, and this is what he's listed at until it changes because, he's listed at something else for the Flyers. He is small. He is a slight player. Is that all it comes down to? Like, if he was 6'1", 210 right now, we'd be like, we have a star in our hands.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, because, and you know me, Bill, I'm generally speaking in favor of taking, skill over size. And I think, just because you guy's 6'4" doesn't mean he's any good. And just because a guy's 5'10" doesn't mean he stinks. And I think that people go too crazy over, like, you have to be over 6 foot to be a center and things like that. So I am very much not a, like, big players over everything type of fan, type of analyst, whatever you want to call me.
Yeah.
Barkey's size is small enough that it is a legitimate concern. Like, this is not a guy who's 5'11". This is a guy who is legitimately tiny. Now, he has bulked up a bit. He's definitely put on some weight, and I wouldn't be surprised if the 171 is probably around where he is now, because you're right. A lot of the measurements they have on Elite Prospects are more like what he weighed in and what he measured at the combine.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't be shocked if 5'10" is a little bit of a stretch. Might be like he was on his tiptoes when he measured in London to start the season. We'll get a better idea when he measures, for the Flyers, what they put him at. I think he'll probably play around like in the 170s, maybe high 180s. That's my guess, because you don't want to get him too bulky. You don't want to mess with the, just his overall frame and slow him down. But one thing that's also worth noting, because you mentioned about those stats that Alex Appleyard pointed out. Great stats for this year, to be sure. Worth remembering, though, that from, let's say, the beginning of the season through around December, this was a guy who was still recovering from mono.
Yeah.
Who was playing close to his full capabilities. That's the reason why he didn't make Team Canada for the World Juniors, which was a big disappointment for him. He put up those numbers despite playing at something probably like 70% for the first 2 months of his season. And the end of season numbers are still that good. Kind of the same thing with his playoff run. He obviously gets banged up, misses a fair amount of time, and he was not fully healthy for the Memorial Cup. Still scores 2 goals. My understanding is he was playing through what I believe was reported to be an ankle injury. He was banged up. He was wincing, on the bench, and then he's going out there and scoring big goals and leading his team to a junior hockey championship. So it's worth noting that as impressive as his results have been, they might even be more impressive when you take into account the circumstances.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't translate, but right now you look at him and go, there's nothing holding him back but size. Like the the intangibles, the scoring rate, the way he played. Like, it's all, yeah, man, this dude's an NHL player. We'll just see if he can get it done, if he can bulk up a little, and if he can stay healthy at the NHL level. But like you like to point out, Charlie, you know, Rasmus Ristolainen, huge, hurt all the time. Doesn't always, you know, always translate. Oh, well, you're big, you stay healthy. You're little, you get hurt. Maybe he's elusive enough that he won't get hurt. He seems to seek quite a bit of contact, though.
He does.
Not an elusive guy. Oliver Bonk, obviously, also on the Knights, Chuck. When do you think is the soonest we could see either of the London prospects in the NHL? Like, do you think either of them have a legit chance out of camp, or this is going to be you're starting in the AHL no matter what sort of situation?
I think Bonk will have a shot, especially given the uncertainty surrounding Rasmus Ristolainen's availability for the start of the season. Now, I think Helge Grans, who obviously signed an extension late last week, I think he will probably have the inside track. And then maybe a player like Hunter McDonald as well, given the fact that, you know, even though he's a lefty versus a righty, he brings the same size and physicality that Ristolainen does. Grans brings the size, not quite the physicality. He's a little bit more of a skill player than a bruiser like McDonald. But I think Bonk will be in the mix, and if he has a big camp, he could certainly jump those guys. They certainly have a higher thinking of his long-term upside than they do guys like McDonald and Grans. I'm expecting Bonk to spend some time in the AHL, but I think he'll be in the mix. I think he will have a shot, and if he excels, hey, you never know. I don't think they're going to say, you need time in the AHL. It's going to be, show us where you are. And if you're ready, we'll put you in there and see how you do. Barkey, I think, absolutely is going to need time, though. I think he needs, because one thing about him, and I love his game, I really do. I think he plays, you know, there's that classic elite prospects line, you know, dog's got that Barkey in him. He plays with serious compete, but I do think he needs to learn how to play faster with the puck, which is the thing for a lot of juniors guys. They just need to adapt to the fact that you have less time and space at the pro game. This is a guy in Barkey who's played for maybe the most talented team in the OHL. Like, he's used to just having all the space in the world because other teams not only have to defend him, they have to defend all the other talented players in the ice too, which gives him more space to operate. I think he's going to need at least half a season, if not a full season, or if not longer, to get used to the pro game. But I do think he's going to be an NHL player, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he turns pro next season.
All right, let us talk about another smallish forward we have been infatuated with recently, Charlie. The latest on Marco Rossi, and we actually got some Bill Guerin quotes. And wow, you know, it's crazy. Yeah, you made it apparent you don't like this guy, that you want to trade him, and you're obviously not getting the offers you want. So you're going to say, oh, yeah, actually, we're not crazy about the idea of trading him. Wild to think that this is what has happened. But I saw this up on Broad Street Hockey earlier from Guerin. He said, I've talked to a lot of teams about lots of players, not just Marco, and names come up all the time, but there's never been any serious discussion with anybody yet. Mostly, I'm going to guess, because he goes, well, you know, we want, like, you know, one of your best forwards or a good first-round pick. And teams are going, well, no, he's a fourth liner for you. What if we don't give that up for a fourth liner, because that's where you played him in the playoffs? And Guerin also said, yeah, teams see the stuff written and they call, but like I said, Marco's a good player. I'm not interested in making our team worse or postponing our team being better. So I'm not dying to get rid of Marco. That's the bottom line. Sure. It's kind of disputing the report from Anthony DeMarco from last week that there's, you know, been, oh yeah, it's Forster or one of the late firsts, like that there's actually gotten that far in discussions. He's disputing that. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, DeMarco actually released another article today clarifying, and it seems like what he's saying now is that it's less that he knows that these two sides, the Flyers and the Wild, have talked about these specific players or rejected certain deals. And it's more that DeMarco is saying, like, he went to both sides individually and asked them what they would want or what they'd be willing to do, and then combined it into one story. Now, again, like, look, this is silly season. This is the rumor season. Like, believe what you want in terms of, you know, what teams are saying versus what they're doing, what insiders are saying versus, you know, what they're just reporting as gossip. Like, it's your call. Believe what you want. It does seem like, though, that teams around the league are not that high on Marco Rossi. And what I suspect is having a big impact on that is, and we talked about it a lot last week, the Florida effect. Teams are like, I'm not going to give up a first round pick, even a late first round pick, and then spend 7x7 on a smallish forward who I don't necessarily think is going to be that useful in the playoffs. And the team that has him, use him on the fourth line in the playoffs for that very reason. Now, to me, this is an opportunity for a smart team to get Rossi for less than what he's actually worth, because I do think he's a really good player. Maybe not a really good player, at least a good player with the potential to be a really good player. There's further upside there, I believe. But I don't get the sense that a bunch of teams are banging down the door to offer premium assets for Rossi, which is intriguing to me because it presents a potential buy low opportunity where, look, would I give up a late first round pick for Marco Rossi? Yeah, I would. If I was a GM, I would do that. But you know what I would rather do? Get Marco Rossi and not give up a late first round pick for him, give up less and get him anyway. So if that's the way it plays out, perhaps a shrewd general manager can get Rossi for cheaper than what I would even be willing to offer and what I believe he is worth.
Yeah, it really does seem to come down to I'd give up a first for him. Then I got to give him 7 times 7 though.
That's, I think, the big concern.
I want to do one or the other, but not both. It just seems like that's a lot of assets for a guy who is going to get traded. But yeah, the Flyers need talent. We will see where it goes, but just wanted to do a quick update on that. And Charlie, we have the new awards format. It's been rumored, and Elliot Friedman talked about it on today's 32 Thoughts. There's going to be, viral moments that they're going to try to create, surprise the players with the trophies. There's going to be like a 1-hour pre-recorded show at some point during Stanley Cup final coverage where they show all the ones they've done, and maybe like the Hart is announced there. So like one of the major awards that no one's seen yet, the video. But we got our first video today up on social media. And it is announcing the Selke Award winner and the King Clancy. Both go to Sasha Barkov of the Florida Panthers. And
I am shocked that Barkov won the Selke. Blown away. Never saw that coming.
There's actually fewer 3-time winners than I thought. Like I thought Rod Brendamore won 3. He didn't. He won 2 in a row out of the lockout, and then that was that. Never won another one, but now he is a 3-time winner, is Sasha Barkov. And they surprised him. Kids from the hospital where he goes and visits regularly, he wasn't able to make it recently, and so they surprise him at the Panthers practice facility. They show him, they award him the trophies. It's a big surprise. I actually thought it was way cooler than I was expecting when this whole, we're going to try to create viral moments thing was first talked about.
Yeah, it's neat. Look, it's one of those things where conceptually, I would like them to have an award ceremony, but in reality, the award ceremony and the awards presentation has always been super boring.
Yeah.
So I think where I'm at is I would like for it to be a formal award ceremony if the award ceremony was fun. But the award ceremony they've been doing for the last decade has not been fun. So it's not like we're really losing anything terribly intriguing anyway,
Yeah, the players don't want to do it. None of them ever have any personality. It's boring. It's kind of embarrassing for the league when they can only get like a C-list celebrity. Like the whole thing just kind of stinks. So yeah, I don't love the way, like the NBA does it, where they just kind of announce and then you get the trophy. But it works for them. This might be the NHL's own thing. Do we want to play the video, Charlie, or do you think we described it well enough?
I think we described it well enough.
All right, yeah, forget it, Andrew. I wanted to do it, but now I'm like, a minute and a half. I don't feel like wasting time on that. But I will say, before we go any further with today's show, let's take a quick break to hear from a couple of our sponsors. 1-800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
That's right. Listen, I have been telling you for like a year now, Empire Today is the place for new flooring. You should not even consider anybody else because Empire Today, they're not like all the big box stores. They're not like the competitors because they have flooring experts. They have people who live and breathe flooring and do it every single day and who will be with you every step of the way in installing, picking your new flooring. And they're able to bring the showroom right to your home. That's right. So you can pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space in your own space and see how it looks with your furniture in your house, up against all the colors in your house, all of it. And they bring it right to you. It is outstanding what Empire Today is able to do. And they take all the work out of your hands and do it themselves. That's right. They'll take the precise measurements and have all your questions answered. So there are never any surprises with Empire Today. And with Empire Today, you get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right, a $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. And while we're here, I got to tell you about my light beer of choice. It's Pabst Light. That's right. Pabst Light is a new light modern beer from our friends at the Pabst Brewing Company. It's 96 calories, 3.5 grams of carbs, and full of crisp and refreshing flavor. And when I say 96 calories and only 3.5 carbs, that's for the tall boy. That's right. We are talking about a light beer, 96 calories, and it's a tall boy. And it's made, of course, because it's from our friends at Pabst. It's made with high-quality ingredients, so you can get that high-quality beer at a smart, approachable price. And it still has the fun and independent spirit of Pabst, but now it's light. Learn more about the new Pabst Light at pabstlight.com. Please drink responsibly. Must be 21 or older. I got to tell you, I've had the opportunity to have quite a few Pabst Lights since they've come aboard, and
I'm shocked.
Big fan. Big fan. Listen, it's like, you fight. We got a sponsor that I'm actually into. Yeah. Why wouldn't I take all the time I can to sample the product? All right, Charlie. Want to mention something from 32 Thoughts, and then we will get into today's draft breakdown of Victor Eklund. A note that I found interesting on today's 32 Thoughts. It's nobody at the top of the draft is all that interested in moving down. Now, that means, of course,
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
Of course, this means the Flyers will definitely be moving up now. But no, we get a lot of questions about moving up to 2 or 4. And it's really fun, because draft trades they're a lot of fun. Moving up is you get a better player, supposedly, hopefully. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it seems kind of as unlikely as we've probably said it is, especially considering, and we'll get into this in a minute, because Wheeler put out like his final 100 ranking over at The Athletic, and the tiers are tier 1 is the top 2 picks, and tier 2 is 3 to 6. Nobody wants to be, there's only one, like the Flyers are at 6. No one wants to move below that. And probably no one wants to be right on that cusp where, there's one guy left in the tier, but he's not really ours. He's just kind of left over. Do we reach? Do we trade down? It could happen. It's possible. It's crazy unlikely, though.
Bill, I say this every year.
I know.
Every year, there's all the speculation and everybody rumor mongers and theorizes that there's going to be all these big trades at the top of the draft. And there's so many reports out there and the insiders are saying that teams want to move up and there wants to be activity and everything's going to happen. And then what happens? Everybody in the top 10 just makes their pick. This is what usually happens. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you should go into the draft assuming that at the top of the draft, teams are just most likely going to sit there and make their pick and then be pleasantly surprised if zaniness happens. I actually give Elliott a lot of credit that he came out and said it.
Yeah.
Because usually the insiders, and look, I'm not questioning the national insiders' journalistic integrity, but I am saying that they are motivated by driving clicks and listens, and what drives more clicks and listens than trade rumors. So I give Elliott credit that he's like, look, don't be expecting regardless of what Mike Grier said at his exit interview, don't be expecting San Jose to trade out of number 2. They're probably just going to make the pick. It was nice to hear that honesty, I got to say.
No, definitely. And like you said, listen, there's a reason like today's show has the word like draft bold in it. These things just kind of like if, the Marco Rossi a couple weeks ago, like if you have draft or trade or any of those things in your headline, you're going to get more engagement. Like that's just what's going to happen. People are crazy for this stuff. And yeah, I'm not questioning anyone's integrity. It's just like you are incentivized if you heard a rumor to talk about that. Oh yeah, man, there's possibility someone, moves up to the 3rd pick or whatever. Because that's the business we're in. You need engagement, otherwise you go out of business. So, like, there is an incentive there to, I am hearing there could be some movement. And, like, I guarantee you Danny's called someone. Like, I guarantee you he got on the phone with Grier and went, what'll it take? And when he goes, you're, Matvey Michkov, it's like, oh, okay, well, never mind then.
Cool.
Never mind. Like, okay, but there was a call, so maybe someone is looking to, why wouldn't you? It's just kind of the version. That's just kind of what this business is. But it was nice to hear, like, the insider say, guys, it never happens. And this year, like, it's not going to, because look at the draft list. The tier 2 starts at pick 3. Like, no one's trading down. All right. So with that, we can take a look at that, at those tiers and get into our main subject today. It is Victor Eklund, and just wanted to run Wheeler's final top 100 ranking by you today. So he is tier 1 of Schaefer and Misa, 1 and 2. We knew this. Tier 2 is 3, 4, 5, 6. It's Hagens, Martone, Desnoyers, Fondell. Charlie, do you differ in any way with tier 2?
I don't differ in terms of the players in tier 2. I differ
order of 3 to 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I think right now where I'm at is, and this isn't necessarily going to be my final ranking, but I think right now where I'm at is I go Hagens at 3, Martone at 4, Fondell at 5, Desnoyers at 6.
So you
I think
flipped Desnoyers and Fondell.
I just flipped Desnoyers and Fondell, but that is my ranking of tier 2. So I'm pretty much there. Tier 3 is interesting because I brought up my tier 3. By my tier 3, I meant like the perception of what I believe scouting consensus is. His is a little different. Eklund, Victor Eklund, who we're about to talk about, Jake O'Brien, Brady Martin, Roger McQueen. That was my 4 that I perceive to be the tier 3 of the hockey world. He has Radim Mirka at 7. He is uniquely high on Mirka. Now, Mirka's a 6'6" right-handed shooting defenseman. It's very possible he goes top 10. His upside is through the roof. There are questions about his hockey IQ, but that type of player, a big right-handed shooting defenseman with puck skills, does tend to go high in the draft. What I will say is, if you have time, go back and listen to, and I know I'm saying this about a competitor, but the Athletic Hockey Show had a really interesting podcast late last week.
Our show.
It was Scott Wheeler, Corey Proman, Chris Peters from Flow Hockey, and then Max Boltman, who functioned as the host. The 4 of them basically created their own draft board. And they had debates on, okay, well, does this guy fit into this tier? Does this guy rank above this guy? And it became clear that Wheeler in that group was kind of going out on a limb for Mirka. Like he was higher on Mirka than everybody else in that discussion. Now, that is not necessarily reflective of the hockey world at large, but I do get the sense that Wheeler, don't look at that tier and say, oh, Mirka 7, he's going to go 7. I think Wheeler is a little higher on him than most people in the game are, even if I do expect that Mirka will go in the top 12, given the fact that he's a 6'6", solid skating, solid puck skill, right-handed shooting defenseman, and teams value those guys like gold bullion.
Yeah, so he has tier 3 of Mirka, Eklund, O'Brien, Martin, McQueen, and Carbonneau at 12, and then tier 4 starts at pick 13. So we will see how that goes. But we are talking about a player from tier 3 today. It is Victor Eklund, a 5'11", 161-pound right-handed winger. He is Swedish. He is the younger brother of William Eklund. He'll be 19 in October, so a little bit old for his draft year, but he is at 18, and he got some run there at 17 as well in the how do you say it, Charlie? I had it and now I lost it. Allsvenskan. Yes, Allsvenskan. I had it earlier and then lost it. But that is it. What's your initial impression of Victor Eklund as a prospect?
My initial impression of Victor Eklund, I'll tell you the story of that initial impression, because this was back in, I guess, February. I believe it was February, because I was stuck. I was coming back home from from Salt Lake City, and I got stuck in Chicago. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do some draft research here, and I'm going to start watching tape. And, I'd watch Schaefer, I'd watch Misa, and obviously those guys are great. And Hagen's also very impressed with him, although there were a few more red flags that I saw in his game. Then watched guys like Fondell and Desnoyers and Martone and liked them. Like, all right, these are good prospects. Then I flipped on Victor Eklund's tape, and he was the first guy probably since I watched Misa's tape where I thought to myself, oh man, this guy's fun. This is a fun prospect to watch. His tape, when you watch him, I think it is impossible not to really, really like Victor Eklund's game. He has a ton of skill. He plays fast. He plays relentless. He's constantly doing things. This is a guy where if you watch tape of him, I find it very difficult that you are not going to come away liking him. He might be. And I guess we're quibbling on word definitions here, because like Brady Martin is the most physical player in the draft in terms of quality of hits, particularly when we're talking about forwards. There are other defensemen in this draft that are physical, but Brady Martin is a really, really good body checker. So I don't want to dismiss that element of Martin's game. But Victor Eklund might be the most tenacious player in the draft. Like, he is a little like spark plug. He's everywhere. He's constantly, trying to throw hits. He's constantly attacking the puck. It's just like go, go, go. And he is fun, man. He is a fun player.
Yeah, that's like when you see him initially, the skating, the scoring ability, all that pops. And then when you get to see the extended version of the shift and how, he created the turnover in the corner to set up that highlight play, or to go end-to-end with the speed. He is, that relentless is exactly the word. Like, okay, skating and scoring, but he's not just like a speedy, small scorer. He plays relentless. That is exactly the word that I had here. He is extremely fun to watch. And I would draw a comparison to his older brother, who is same height, listed as 20 pounds bigger, but that makes sense because he's 4 or 5 years older. William Eklund, 16 goals, 45 points in his full rookie season of 2023-24, and he jumped up to 17 goals, 58 points as a 22-year-old this past season. Basically going to be the same size, and you're seeing it kind of translate, but it feels as if he might be one of these victims of the Florida stranglehold, Charlie. Just 5'11", 161, smallish, skilled winger. Oh yeah, we're gonna go with Ratty Mertka or Brady Martin because we need those dudes instead. Do you kind of see that happening with his draft stock right now?
Yes and no. So I do think there is a decent chance he slips further than he should from a talent standpoint, but I don't know if it'll be because of the Florida effect. Reason being, and Corey Proman spoke to this in that podcast I was talking about, you watch Victor Eklund play, and even though he's small, he plays a playoff style game. He is not a perimeter player. He is not a soft player. Yes, maybe there are some concerns where you're like, well, he's pretty small. Is he going to be able to do that in the NHL and not get hurt all the time? But he is not a guy that you watch and you think, man, he's not going to be able to handle playoff hockey. He plays a playoff style game. He's just small. Now, to me, the reason why he might slip has less to do with people watching him and thinking like James Hagens could slip because of that concern, because he does, at least in his draft year, played a bit of a perimeter game. He's smallish and he's not very physical. He's more of a skill guy. He could slip for the Florida effect. If Eklund slips, I think it's going to be because, number one, this is a very deep draft at the top for centers. And centers, generally speaking, are going to be more valuable and desirable, especially at the top of a draft, than guys who are straight up wingers. And Eklund is a winger all day. It's not like you're going to move him to center or anything like that. He is a winger. And then you have the defenseman thing where, like, would I rank Eklund above every defenseman in this draft aside from Matthew Schaefer? Absolutely. But could I easily see a team at the back half of the top 10 deciding that they'd rather take the 6'6" Mertka or the physical goal scoring Kashawn Aitchison over Eklund, because it's like, well, we have the chance to get a top 4 defenseman who brings size and a physical element over the smallish guy who's definitely a wing. I could certainly see that. So I could see Eklund falling, not necessarily because of the Florida effect per se, but more because of the positional importance of center and defense over a winger who doesn't bring size to the table like a Martone does.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Just like looking especially at the tiers here, like, all right, let's say it is Hagens, Desnoyers, Fondell go in some 3-4-5 order because they project as centers, and it's all right. We need a center, or I can see Martone being there at 6, and the Flyers going, yeah, but so, and then that pushes Victor Eklund down, that pushes everyone down, and like, okay, we reach for Jake O'Brien or Brady Martin or whoever, and that continues the slide for some of the wingers. I don't expect Martone to really fall that far because, like we've talked about, he big, so that means he's automatically good, Charlie.
Yeah, and I look at guys like, these are two guys who panned out, but I look at guys like Seth Jarvis and Cole Perfetti. Okay, Seth Jarvis went 13th overall. Cole Perfetti went 10th. Both of those guys probably should have went higher, but the view was they are smallish guys who are going to be wingers at the NHL level. We are going to prioritize guys who could play center or guys who could be defensemen at the top of your lineup. It's nothing necessarily against Jarvis or Perfetti or, in this case, Eklund. It's more just that, like, smallish wingers are the guys who tend to fall further than they should on draft day. Not out of the first round, but maybe out of the top 10.
Do you think some of the U18 stuff is kind of working against Eklund as well, just because we heard he didn't stand out, and now there's reasons for it? He had just come from his team in the Allsvenskan, and they earned a promotion to the SHL. Like, he was fighting for that. He's one of the I think 4th or 5th leading scorers on his team, led by Patrick Thorson. 41
Patrick
years
Thorson.
old, still killing it. But, like, do you think some of that could be weighing in as well, or he's kind of rated where you see him talent-wise right now?
No, I think he's rated around where I see him talent-wise. That said, Bill, I think you're mixing up Fondell and Eklund.
That's Fondell.
Yeah.
We already talked about this. Yes.
So Fondell was...
He's not... He's over 18, so that
exactly. So, yeah, Eklund could not play in the under 18s. Eklund did, however, and this is an important thing in Eklund's favor. Eklund played at the normal World Juniors in December and January, the under 20s for Sweden, and was very impressive. Like, was he as impressive as Schaefer was in his 2 games before he got hurt? Probably not. But he was probably as impressive, on the same range as Hagens, who was impressive for USA. Eklund stood out at the World Juniors. And that's yes, he's a little old for his draft year. He turned 18 in October, but he's going against guys who are, 2 years older than him, and he was very impressive for Team Sweden. So that's another point in Eklund's favor, that he went to the World Juniors, which, like, compare him to Porter Martone, who also played for the World Juniors, played for Team Canada, and was not that impressive in the same tournament that Eklund stood out, despite the fact that Martone is, 5-6 inches taller than Victor Eklund. Eklund's a really fun player, and I have him right now on my board ranked 8th. But that is almost entirely because he can't be a center. If I was purely looking at this from a, like, pure hockey player, positionless hockey standpoint, he might be 4th or 5th on my board. But the Flyers need a center, and he's not a center.
That was my next question. Like, if you were to forget about positional value and the Flyers need specifically. Now, should you draft for need? No, but like centers are more important and they don't have any. So you kind of need a freaking center.
That's the big thing.
Like if you were to take all of that out of it, you would have him like a little higher, just pure skill, the way he play, all of that. You think he could be like a top 5 or 6 pick?
Yeah, I think he is one of my favorite prospects in the draft, even if I would not be like banging the table for the Flyers to take him. That said, like it's not just that the Flyers have a needed center. Centers are inherently more valuable. They are. And the fact that like him and Fondell are an interesting debate, because when I watched tape of both of those guys in February, I came away thinking like, I think I like Eklund more than Fondell. Now I've spun the other way because Fondell finished out the season very well. I've watched further tape on Fondell and came away more and more convinced, but you could make a case for Eklund over Fondell. I think you could, because especially if you watch Fondell and you say he's a winger. And I think there is a decent enough chance he could be a center at the NHL level. But if you watch Fondell and you're like, he's better at wing, there were a lot of games last year where Eklund looked like the guy because they played on the same line. They were on the same team. They played on the same line. There were a lot of games where you watch the two of them play and you're like, Eklund's the one driving this line, not Fondell. Like he's the guy who's carrying the puck. He's the one making the plays. Then maybe Frondell's the one finishing it off with his big old shot. But Eklund's the guy doing more stuff. So Eklund, I don't think is that far from that second tier. Again, the big difference though is that Fondell could be a center. Eklund is not. And that's where, because like if Fondell hits, he's a 1C. If Eklund hits, he's a first line winger, and the 1C is more valuable than the 1W.
It is. I want to do a little bit more in just a second on Victor Eklund, but first, we got some good reads coming up for you. It's everybody's favorite time. It's Mando time. Now, listen, I told Charlie to start the show, I was down in Sea Isle this weekend, hit a bunch of my favorite places, and no shower happy hour is a great time. But just because you didn't shower before you went out to the bar is no excuse to just absolutely stink. And that's where Mando comes in. Mando is a men's deodorant brand, and it's a full body deodorant. What do I mean when I say full body? I don't just mean your armpits. I mean your crack, your grundle, your thigh folds, under the belly. It's always a spot for me. I got to get all of it. Oh, man, it's so fun to have a read where you can say grundle. It's great. And Mando takes care of everything with their whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere from the pits to the thigh folds, the belly button, crack, feet, wherever, because it was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. And they have a wide variety of products, from the solid deodorant stick to the spray deodorant, and all products are baking soda and paraben free. You can choose from a variety of scents like that bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. And it's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone, because 12 hours after a shower, maybe you haven't heard this before, just 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was about a 5 out of 10. With Mando, it falls all the way to 0 12 hours after that shower. You got to check out Mando now, and Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid deodorant stick, a deodorant cream tube, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. All you have to do is use code PHLY at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com, and use code PHLY. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And while we're here, got to tell you about our friends at Art of Words, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a local Philly artist is proving it. Each piece he makes is made entirely from handwritten words, like every Eagles name forming the link or every Phillies name shaping Citizens Bank Park. He makes outstanding products, great gifts for grads, Father's Day right around the corner, whatever it is. These pieces are a lot of fun. They're conversation starters. They've been featured on Today Show, ESPN, so much more. Check it all out for yourself at artofwords.com. That's artofwords.com. Use code PHLY at checkout for 15% off your purchase. All right, Chuck, I guess Victor Eklund is really good. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we have called this when we've talked about just, the positional need and everything. This would be a luxury pick for Danny. No, especially now, I think he's listed as a left winger, but he is yet another right-handed winger. Not huge. It kind of seems like the Flyers have these boxes checked already. No,
they have a lot of smallish wingers already. Obviously, they have Travis Konechny, and I've heard a couple people in the industry actually compare Victor Eklund to Travis Konechny.
There is definitely a aesthetic comparison to be made in their games.
Yes, there is a stylistic comparison to be made absolutely between the two. Michkov is smallish, Brink is smallish. Like, they have a lot of guys who fit this archetype already. So it would be a bit stylistically redundant given the decisions that they've already made in terms of committing to guys for the future. That said, if he starts slipping, like I don't think he makes sense at 6 because you have too big of a need down the middle. And he's not, like, as much as I like Victor Eklund, I don't see a guy with superstar potential. Like, the reason why I would be okay with him going with Martone, despite the fact that he is a winger too, number one, he's not as stylistically redundant because he's big. Number two, and this is important, I think Martone's plausible upside is higher than Eklund's. I think Eklund's upside is like 75, 80 point per game-ish winger who's real fun. It's basically Travis Konechny. Now, Travis Konechny is a great player. Travis Konechny is not a superstar. I'd like a guy above Konechny in terms of best case scenario. I think Martone has that upside. I don't think Eklund quite has that physical upside. So I wouldn't take him at 6. However, if he starts slipping out of the top 10, he's dropping down to 12, 13. People keep taking defensemen. People keep taking swings on guys who could be a center. I would put him in the same realm as like a Roger McQueen, where, hey, if he starts falling down the draft board, you're sitting at 22. You're like, well, he's not going to get to 22, but we could move up to 15 and get him. He is an exciting player, and it would be a huge value play. Even though there's some stylistic redundancy, you need talent too. And to get a guy like that at 14, 15 by trading away, an early second round pick and 22, suddenly then we're talking about a really exciting draft, because Victor Eklund, to me, like, I actually have Eklund in my tier 2. Now I have him behind the centers, but I have him in the same tier as
all right.
Desnoyers, Fondell, Hagens, Martone. Like, he's in that tier. He's just below those guys, but I like him a lot.
You mentioned McQueen, and I got to tell you, Charlie, I'm looking for it. We're going to have like some crossover shows and stuff. There's going to be announcements. I don't want to spoil anything, but Zach Berman is a Roger McQueen guy. And now I don't know how much like hockey scouting Zach Berman has done. I do remember seeing him in the press box back in the day. But he's a McQueen guy. And I got to tell you, I think that's going to sway me. I think Zach Berman is going to sway me. I'm going to have to do a definitive list, though, of like my guys, because they keep changing like every single day when we talk about a different player.
You have all the guys, every player that we've talked about, with the exception of maybe like one or two. Like, I think Jake O'Brien is very much not one of your guys, but almost all the other ones are your guys. So going back to Eklund for a second, though, I've been talking him up, and there's a lot to talk up. The puck skills, the dangling ability, the relentlessness. He's a volume shooter. He's an effective forechecker. He's a creative passer. There's a lot of really good things about his game. But I do want to talk about the negatives, because there are some. Number one, the size. The size is a negative. He is smallish, and that's a negative on a couple levels. Number one, it does limit his plausible upside, because he doesn't necessarily have the ability to win the kinds of battles and be the imposer of will that a Martone has the plausible ability to become. Number two, and this is important, because he's small and because he plays this style, you do worry about if he gets to the NHL level and plays like this, is he going to be hurt a lot? Now, he has played in the Allsvenskan, didn't deal with too many injuries, so that's a men's league, and that does bode well. But the NHL is on an entirely different level in terms of size, in terms of strength, in terms of physicality. You do worry a little bit because this was a concern about Travis Konechny as well. One of the reasons why he slipped as far as he did that year was, yeah, he's effective doing this in juniors, but in the NHL, is he only going to play 50 games a year because he gets himself hurt every year? And Konechny, while he definitely plays a lot, he does get banged up. He doesn't play 82 games every year, and it's in part because of his style. You do worry about that a little with Eklund. Also, he does need to get stronger. He gets knocked off the puck sometimes. He's relentless. He lays the body, but he's kind of more like a gnat than he is like a guy who's actually inflicting pain.
No, and like we said earlier, just because you're small doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get hurt. But when you are an initiator like he is, and that's another great comparison to Travis, like TK just played all 82 games. He hasn't done that every season, and I do think TK was dealing with something for large portions of this season that did hold him back. And, he had 4 goals in the second half of the year. I wonder if there was maybe not an injury that required surgery, and he did go to World Championships, so must not be too bad. But you do wonder, can a guy who so much of his game is that relentless style at that size, you don't want to take that out of him because then what is he?
Right.
And 2, but he's going to get hurt. There's no way around. There's no way he is an 82 game a year, 10-year player. That just, maybe he does it sometimes, but it won't be every season, that's just what's going to happen when you play that style. Do we have really anything else on Victor Eklund? I think it's a low-end possibility at best. The Flyers get him at 6. The idea of him falling, though, is intriguing. There's, like we've talked about McQueen, guys I'm a little more interested in, but Victor Eklund, he is a ton of fun to watch. He is a good player, and they do need talent.
I cannot imagine that he falls lower than, let's say 12 to 16. 12 to 16. Okay. I would say that's the absolute low end of everybody's taking defensemen and centers, and he just starts slipping. But he's too likable of a player. I think someone is going to take him in the top 12. It wouldn't shock me if he goes top 10. He deserves to go top 10. Let me put it that way, given what he's done on the ice and all of the strengths of his game. There are a lot of them. He's one of my favorite players in the draft, and it kills me that I can't be banging the table for the Flyers to take him just because of their clear-cut needs elsewhere and because there are so many players in this draft that are just as good as Eklund, but also fill that need.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to Super Chats, I want to just put a bow on something I think we talked about in a Super Chat from last week. The Flyers had until 5 p.m. Sunday to sign former draft picks Carter Southern, Brian Zanetti, and Matteo Mann. All went unsigned and are UFAs at this point, Charlie. Not a huge surprise because, Southern, a 5th rounder, Mann, a 7th. Zanetti was a 2021 4th. That feels forever ago. So it's not like anyone was really banking on any of these guys. But I will say, the front office has told us multiple times, in conversations with you and I, yeah, we think the defense needs to be bigger. These guys are all big. They're all big defensemen, and they're all not part of the organization anymore. Is that a little surprising? Or once it gets to, yeah, man, they had 3 hours, they weren't going to sign him. It was probably pretty obvious for a while they weren't going to sign these guys.
Yeah, I think it's not a huge surprise because it's not like they don't have other big defensemen in the pipeline. Obviously, they have Hunter McDonald. They signed Murchison, who I personally like less than I liked Southern. I would have probably signed Southern over Murchison, but they went with Murchison. They have Spencer Gill, who they drafted. So it's not like they don't have defensemen who are already in the organization, who are already signed, who fill that perceived void. They had a lot of big defensemen in their pipeline, and I guess they just chose they like those guys more than these guys. Again, the one guy who was a minor surprise to me was Carter Southern. I never expected Matteo Mann to be signed. who's a 7th-round pick, who really can't skate that well. Brian Zanetti, I was never a huge fan of that pick either, but he didn't quite develop the way they wanted him to. There was at least something there. Southern was the guy where, there were some people who, I believe, if we're going back to elite prospects, EP Ringside, I think they ranked Southern above Bonk pre-draft that year. So there were people who like him, who like his skill set. Clearly, the Flyers were not happy with the way he developed. As I noted late last week, Nick Schultz mentioned at development camp last year that they needed to see more from Southern. Clearly, they didn't see what they wanted to see. Look, I don't think Carter Southern has the upside to be a top 4 NHL defenseman, but I liked his upside more than I liked Murchison's. Clearly, they disagreed. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, yeah, we'll see how it plays out. And now, Andrew, let's hit those super chats. All right, let's get the first one here. It's from our pal Borfus. Not Flyers related, but let's go Saquon for NFL 25. Yeah, you see Saquon is on the cover of Madden, and they have turned Gino's steaks into Steakquans, which is pretty funny as like a promotional event today.
Oh boy.
It's like a big cutout of him leaping over the cheesesteak. It's actually a pretty cool thing going on down in South Philly. I saw on Twitter earlier. All right, let's check out Chase here. I want to get Bill riled up on Tippett and the Edmonton pick for Tage Thompson. TK, Tage, Mish, the TMT line might happen when Charlie's Musty is in. Yeah,
I would do that in a heartbeat. I don't know why Buffalo would.
Yeah, that's. I mean, listen, if Buffalo, it's not as if they're the most well-run organization. If they want to do something that's stupid, sign me up, man.
Let's go.
What else? Like, okay, so it's Tippett. It's the 32nd pick. And what else would you like? If they could get Tage Thompson for just a couple of those assets, man, I'm all for it. And it's not even, this isn't even my my distaste right now for Owen Tippett weighing into this. Like, Tage Thompson's awesome.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good player.
He's a 40-goal guy. He's great.
Yeah, they could really use a Tage Thompson. So I'm all for it. And that's not even taking into account how much I would like to trade Tippett this offseason. All right, another one here from Borfus. McJesus Zoomies putting Dallas to bed. It was, I think, a little surprising that they went down in 5 the way they did, but this Edmonton team is freaking awesome, and Connor McDavid's like, it's. I guess it shouldn't surprise anybody when they beat anyone because, like, they have the best player in the world. It's not that complicated when you really think about it. Oh yeah, he's better than everybody else by quite a large margin, in fact, for most players.
Yeah, I was reading Sean Shapiro, who I really like. He used to work for The Athletic. He's now a regular contributor for DLS Stars. Really good writer, good guy. He did an article kind of breaking down the end of the Dallas season, and I don't know if he spoke to DeBoer off the record or if he's just spoke to people close to DeBoer off the record, but Pete DeBoer apparently, according to Sean, and Sean is a very good journalist, apparently is very sincere about his belief that the reason why Dallas lost that series was because Jake Ottinger got outplayed by Stuart Skinner. And in my mind, that is a complete oversimplification as to why they lost that series. If he thinks that it's only Jake Ottinger, then he needs to watch the tape again because Dallas got straight up outplayed overall in that series.
I don't know how you come to that conclusion. I don't know. Maybe don't give up breakaways to Connor McDavid. Like, a great way. While I think goalies get away with murder, and I do like to see them put in their place sometimes, I don't know if this was necessarily like the reason to do it. All right, and before we finish up our super chats, we're headed to overtime. Make sure you go to allphly.com to continue watching the show if you are one of our TV viewers. All right, and the conversation continues in the super chats. Let's see what our next one is here. All right, and we have from DA Flyers man, Sam Ersson seems to have outplayed Jacob Markstrom at the Worlds with some pretty sterling numbers. I still hold out hope for him as a starter one day. There is certainly, as Charlie would say, some runway for Sam Ersson to develop. For a goalie, he is still youngish. I just think it's pretty clear, like nothing to do with his ability. His body does not respond to playing 3-4 games a week. Like, he just gets worse. I think if he's in once a week, he could be really freaking good. When it's more than twice, I just think his level of play drops dramatically.
Yeah, I'm not ready to write off Ersson as a potential, 1A or even a starter. I think it's possible. I like the skill set. I like his mentality and his approach. But I just don't think the Flyers can afford to rely upon that happening anymore. They need to operate under the assumption that Ersson is just a tandem goalie or just a backup goalie, make decisions based on that assumption, but leave the door open for Ersson to show that he's more than that. Like, I don't think they should give up on Ersson. I think he can be part of this, but don't depend upon him being your number one. If it happens, it's a nice bonus, but don't strategize based on the assumption that he's going to be that guy, because he's shown nothing yet to make you believe with any certainty that he's going to be that guy.
No, and I just, I'm all for, please, waive Fedotov, terminate his contract, come to a mutual termination, whatever. Send him to the AHL. Don't care. I'm done with Fedotov. Kolosov, trade his rights. Don't care. I want to see what Ersson becomes still. I think there's something there. I just doubt very much it's a number one, because of whenever his workload is increased, it has gone very poorly. When his workload has been less, he has been very good. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. We have a few more here. All right, let's get to the next one from Hat-Trick Patrick. What up, Pat? Some Leafs fans have told me Marner played center at some point in his career. If he were willing to, would that make him a viable free agent option for the Flyers?
He has played a little bit of center, but he's more a winger. I think it's less it's less about him being willing to play center. It's more about how effective he would be at center.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good winger. And while you do see some wingers at points in their career, Claude Giroux being a perfect example, played wing at the beginning of his NHL career, moved over to center. Sebastian Aho, same thing. It usually happens early on, not when you're in your late 20s. Like Tage Thompson, similar thing. I think it would be it's already a risk to sign Marner to a deal that takes him through his mid-30s to the price he's going to require. It would be an enormous risk to do that and then immediately be like, you're changing your position. That would scare me.
He did, though, once again, receive a whole bunch of Selke votes. So it's not like he's just this one-dimensional winger, but
he's a really good defensive winger.
He's still a winger. That's the thing. That's what it comes down to for me. He has played some center, but I don't think that's what he is. I think he can, but every day, no. All right. I think we have some more. Yeah, from Ham Sealy. I really wonder if his name is Sam Healy, and I said it like that, and now it's his handle. Like, I just messed it up. Anyway, from Ham, out of curiosity, who declared Charlie the number one beat reporter? He def is, but did Mill make it up? I've been wondering for a while. It's me. I don't think there was like a contest.
Well, it's like how before every national anthem, the Flyers announce Lauren Hart as the number one anthemist in the NHL. Now, did she, like 20 years ago, win a poll saying she was the number one anthemist? Yes. Is she a really good anthemist? Yes. Is there incontrovertible evidence that she's the number one anthemist in the NHL? No, but like, it's fun to say, so say it.
I think I've read a lot of Charlie's work, and it's great. And he's the PHWA rep, so everyone else must respect him at least. I don't know. He's really good. So I say he's number one. Prove me wrong.
Yeah,
all right.
exactly.
The next one here from Purple Crayon. Charlie, where do you realistically think McQueen ends up getting taken, and why is it sixth?
I don't think it's going to be sixth, but hey, you never know, Purple Crayon. Harold, I appreciate the commitment to the bit. Again, my point has always been, if the Flyers are going to get McQueen, I think it would be in a trade-up scenario, not taking him 6th. But hey, maybe they've done a ton of research on him and they fully believe that the back injury is no big deal. His medical's checked out and he's their pick at 6. And if he is, it's a pick I could come around on pretty quick as an enormous upside swing and a sign that this organization is willing to take the big risks in order to get big rewards. It's not a risk I would personally take. I think it's a little rich for my blood, but if the Flyers did it, I could come around on it pretty quick. I'll say that.
Scouting combine, I believe, begins today.
Yep.
There will be medical tests. Certainly,
it's just it would be one of those picks where it's just like, well, you better be right because it's a big gamble.
Part of me wants it so bad, and the other part is terrified. Like, they can't mess this up, but the upside is so high. Like, I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. I believe that is it for the super chats. I don't think we have any more. All right, yeah. Here's one from Hattrick Patrick. Please stand if you are able. Remove your hats and welcome the number 1 anthemist in the NHL, Charlie O'Connor.
Beautiful.
Maybe we can get Charlie to sing on the show where he
that is never happening.
Where he debuts his mustache.
Never.
We just go all out. All right, I think that is it on the super chats. And that means that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Hit the reminder bell so you get notifications, never miss a live show. And hit the like button. We didn't hammer it home enough today because we can't see the like total when we're remote. But I bet you it's not enough. So we need more likes, subscribes, all that. It helps us out. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. We're also on Blue Sky. And follow the podcast. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. That's it for us. I'm Bill Matz. That's number 1 beat writer Charlie O'Connor. Till tomorrow, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.